Okay, right. Nadasa, welcome back to the studio. God knows I could use your knowledge, expertise, opinion right now. I feel that a lot of people are feeling very confused. So last week, with the help of Costa, we sort of like laid the groundwork for what's going on right now with the US elections and this whole unsurprising, I'm going to say, turnout, because I was expecting it. I didn't see Kamala winning. Anyway, so Nadasa Loizu, international consultant, specialized on business innovation and security. You're about to answer some questions on a global scale, yeah?
Exactly.
Let's go globally.
Let's go global.
Okay, why should we go global?
Because there is a huge issue that we started becoming too micro, even nano, right?
Okay.
And I heard your podcast with Costas, very interesting, and we need to listen it to many times again in order to analyze a lot of stuff he said. But let's take a point he mentioned, and you also mentioned it. Why did Harris lose? Because one of the reasons is because they focus too much on minorities, right?
Okay.
This is a reason why the Argentinian elections ended up the way they ended up and Milei won, because the progressive agenda didn't focus in the collective community and the majorities. They focus in many minorities that they suppose they make a majority, right?
Okay.
So politics started becoming too nano, too micro. So we need to, take the focus a bit up and look what is going on around the world.
Okay.
We need to say it clearly. We are in the middle of a hybrid world war.
You mentioned that in one of the messages, and I would love for you to explain what that means. So, world hybrid war.
Okay, we are in the middle of different conflicts that if you connect them and if we understand geopolitics, it's a world war, but a different one from the ones that we didn't live them. Our parents and grandparents lived them.
We just read about them,
etc. And we read about all the cruelty and the misery and the death and the destruction. Mm-hmm. It's just this one, it's different because capitalism has become too technological. So basically we are in a technological war. And that is why everyone is so worried about cybersecurity and cyber defense, etc., because it is a geopolitical war that it's mingled. It's hybrid because it goes on fire and it's also done in politics and in technology. So basically, what are we having with these election results in different countries? And we have we can now talk about the new global right, but the new global right is not here now from Trump. It started since 2000.
Okay, question. When you say technological war, when you say that it's mingled into geopolitics now, what do you mean? Do you mean social media, and disinformation?
I mean, in order for social media to work, we need other kinds of technology. We need infrastructure. We need natural resources for all these machines to work. I mean, it's not like we wake up in the morning and we have our social media working just because, there is this thing that we call the cloud. The cloud needs its hardware. Yeah. The hardware, it needs infrastructure. For example, Microsoft is one of the biggest companies in the world now, but it's because it invested a lot in infrastructure for its technological products. So they are becoming diversified. Elon Musk is interested in the lithium of the United States and Latin America, but now they found out that the United States have an important percentage of lithium. So he's interested in getting that because it will help him to build up the infrastructure and the technology that will sustain the rest of its business. Okay, so we are talking about a technological capitalism that needs natural resources, needs a different kind of human resources, needs a different society in order to work. And, Elon is talking about taking humanity to the universe,
to Mars.
So it's not just Mars. He said the last weeks that it's not just Mars. He wants to take it even further.
Lovely.
But further than that,
I was going to ask, when you say society, so can we say now that society? I mean, was there ever any chance that society could adapt to this technological capitalism? Did we ever have any chance of adapting to it?
I mean, if you take history, society has been adapting to the mutations of capitalism for the last, 500, 600 years.
But isn't this a very different mutation? A more powerful one, maybe? Is there any difference, basically?
I don't know, because we can only talk about the real effects when we study history. So I cannot say if it's gonna be the most powerful or the most impactful, because all of them have been impactful. Take human history; it has been changing us. We are talking about an anxiety society and a burnout society. Why? Because, look, I'm here with 2 cell phones because I need to communicate with 2 different regions. And when I work, I have my 2 cell phones, my laptop, and sometimes I have other technological instruments to work with. And when I open up in each of these instruments, I have different conversations in different languages, different... we have to, as a social scientist and also as someone that is working in business and also in security, I have to work in different platforms. So imagine how many platforms I have open, and basically my instruments do not shut down ever. We used to shut down our computers, now we don't. So it's changing us a lot, and it's changing us even physically. I'm not the person to talk about this, but many people have back problems or physical problems because of eye problems, finger problems, right? So look at how difficult. I keep writing just to
remind yourself how to write, so you don't forget how to write.
So I don't forget how to write, because writing is part of learning, is part of the process of learning. So if we just see things, and memory, look about our memory, we don't memorize anything.
Our attention span.
Because we have this, we have this. And sometimes when people say this to me, I say, so what if we are attacked and we get hacked and nothing of these instruments work? We are not going to be able to know where to go, how to go, what to do, how to communicate. My mother used to remember the numbers, and she remembers the phone numbers of everyone.
Someone said the other day about time. We won't even know what time it is.
We won't know. Yes, I continue buying
you have
normal clocks because it's like, the world is becoming postmodern, and I try to keep my modernized part.
You're trying to keep the old school.
I am the oldie millennial.
Okay.
But going back to it,
yes,
we are in the middle of a world that is given within capitalism.
Okay.
It's not given against People say, well, yes, because it's against China. Well, yes, but China is playing within the capitalist rules,
yes,
economic rules. So listen what the Italian president said and what Trump said also, and others,
okay,
right, in this new global right. They're gonna place tariffs against the Chinese product.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
It's part of this hybrid war.
Okay.
Okay, it's part of it. It's very small. There are a lot of other things that are going on that we cannot see them.
Yeah.
We will see them, just as Costa said, we will see them when they happen, they rise up, and we are going to be able to analyze them as social scientists or as journalists, etc., etc. But the hybrid part of it is
already in action.
Is already in action.
Okay.
So when you listen to, and because of my work in business innovation, I have to, and I do it because I also like it. I listen to business experts on what the new arenas of economic development are going to be in the world.
Okay.
It's purely technological.
Wow.
Absolutely technological. They have to do with generation of electricity, with alternative means. They have to do with cybersecurity, defense, with AI in its different forms, with semiconductors. Everything is directed towards the absolute technologization of our system. So there is another preoccupation, for example, what are the next professions going to be for our kids? Because what are they going to study? What is going to happen with university careers? University careers right now are started to be broken down, and the university started to offer small and short courses, which are, the BAs need to have different courses. So basically they break down a BA and they start offering the courses in an individual way.
Okay.
So that is how education is going to be formatted. We don't know, but they started doing that because they realized that the system does not need people with holistic education.
And holistic approaches.
What about the critical thinking? Do we need people that think critically for what?
Yeah, for what exactly?
Okay.
What are they going to do with that critical thinking?
And that takes you to this issue of freedom of speech, liberty to say anything, etc., etc. It has to do with the functioning of the science and technology system worldwide. In order to publish an article, except of the time that it takes to elaborate and research and validate and do methodological stuff in order to consolidate your concepts and see if there is homogenization or not, if it's not contradicting within, in order to say, okay, have a new block of concepts or a new block of theory. Yeah. It takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of exchange with others, etc., etc.
And that's something that we don't.
That is something that it doesn't happen. It does not happen in journalism. There are people that do it, but if you remember, all journalists, it took them a little bit more time than now. They took them ages to undertake an investigation, what we call the journalist investigation. Well, for social scientists, it takes a little bit more. So by the time you publish that research, it's outdated.
Yes.
So all this acceleration and all this, you have to be everywhere and you have to know everything. And if you don't know, how come? So I say, okay, look, it's impossible for us to know everything. It's a different thing to have a global view of things and be able to have an abstract thinking of what is going on. A different thing is to be a specialist on every small thing that is going on around the world. But it's impossible for someone to know all these things you have to be like cable basically.
I think the word you said, impossible. It's just impossible.
It's impossible to know everything that is going on, and people ask you, did you read that? Did you read that? Well, no, but did you read what I read?
Yeah.
So
do you feel that, Nadasamu, that people just don't care anymore about the research, about the investigation? Does it matter? I mean, it seems like nothing of scientific basis and research even matters anymore. It seems like we're just living off opinions and feelings.
Well, I don't know if people don't care, because it depends on a lot of things.
Or maybe I shouldn't say people anymore. Maybe I should say voters.
No, I mean, let's humanize our talk. I mean, voters are also people. Voters have opinions. They are very diverse. Many people vote also because of things that happen to them, and etc. I mean, there are a lot of responsibilities here. Academy has done a great work in registering and analyzing and discovering new things. But I believe that the academy has informed for so many years the political community internationally and locally. And I think the failure is of the political community. And I say this with a lot of sadness, because I have always been politically involved.
When you say political community, who are you talking about?
Everyone that, I mean, the political system, the democratic system today is in a crisis. I mean, who do we represent? I mean, let's go to the New Global Right.
Yes.
Who do they represent?
Yeah, who do they represent?
And they represent workers. They represent women.
Okay.
Youngsters.
So what we said with Costa on the podcast about the right now representing the working class people.
Exactly.
That shift has happened.
But the issue is, we have to do two questions. Who does the new right represent? Yeah. And another question is, who backs the new right?
All right, let's start with who does it represent?
Okay, they represent people, not voters, because the voter is a different issue in a different country. Okay.
All right.
You have some countries that allow people from 16 years old to go and vote, and other countries don't.
Yeah. True. Okay.
So who do they represent? They represent the working class. What is the working class today? That's
people who care about the fact that they can't feed their kids and warm their homes.
We are talking about middle class people that have certain education, and that they vote as a reaction, not because, I mean, we call it the negative vote.
Yeah.
Because they feel and see and realize that the progressive part, has not complied with their promises for so many decades.
Okay.
We have another group, small business owners and domestic industry advocates.
Okay.
This group used to be a follower of the progressive left wing, right? Because, today they are like a bloc supporting the right wing, because the right wing is saying to them that they are going to promote a less globalized, a more protectionist state, etc. And this is what small business owners need, because if you globalize your economy, then local industries and local commerce cannot compete with foreign. Okay, remember that if we go back like 20 years ago, this used to be like the agenda of the left.
Only 20 years ago. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the they represent free speech advocates and anti-establishment activists. What happened?
The anti-establishment part is something that I just can't get my head around.
What happened?
What happened?
I mean, we used... I feel like I am part of this group. I never voted for the right. But I say, how come the right wing represent free speech advocates and anti-establishment activists? How come? What happened?
It's just mind-boggling.
Something happened.
Okay.
Things happened. Many things happened, and I think you have been covering part of it in your other podcast. That's why, I mean, I don't want to go again. I feel that in this space and time, I would like to invest it in order to talk about this thing. Okay, what is the new right?
Yes.
I don't want to talk about all the wrong things that the
failures
the
of the left and the progressive.
I don't want to talk about that because everyone is talking about that.
Yeah.
In order to face first of all, we need to understand who do we have there. Who are these people? Who are these people that are feeling represented by the right today because they feel unrepresented by other.
But I feel that is part of the failure of the left and the progressive. The fact that for ages, and I'm new to this, but I remember 3-4 years ago when I started noticing the right and the global right, people kept saying to me, why are you bothering? Why are you even spending any time and energy on this? There's no point.
Well, people...
And then it developed to a point where you just missed so many parts of how it got to where it got.
Well, okay, if we look at history, it's cyclical. Okay, every 20
true.
years, something like this happens. Okay, my urge today as a citizen of the world, because I live in that way, as a person that has human values, okay, we need to go back to those human values.
Yeah.
We need to I'm not going to be a Fukuyama.
I was going to say, you're not going to romanticize it.
No, I'm not going to
utopicize.
No, I'm not going to utopicize, or I'm not going to repeat the phrase of Fukuyama for people that don't know it. It's the end of the ideologies and the end of history, because clearly history continues and ideologies continue. Look.
Yeah.
He told us in the 90s that it was the end of ideologies, and today we're talking about the new global right.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
It's the new global right, as Costas also said, I totally agree with him, is we need to calm down. This is not the first time this occurs. And, I mean, worse things happen to humanity.
Yeah.
What we need to work on is to mitigate and prevent that worse things are going to happen in the present, because we always talk about the future.
Yeah.
In the present and the future.
Yeah.
So we can criticize, because also when we are in the progressive and now they call us yoke, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk about the yoke.
I don't want to talk about it either. I will at some point, once I gather all the information that's coming out now, because I feel that I need to, because I feel that getting feedback now from everything that's happened in the last week, I hear the economy a lot, and then I hear this woke on the same level.
If you allow me to say something about that, it has to do with the moralization of politics. I mean, the progressive movement has become so moralized. I mean, this correction about how to talk about politics and want to think, and no, because you need to stick to this, because if you go a little bit on this side you become too extreme, and if you go a little bit on this side you become, I mean, This is why freedom of speech is now feeling represented by them. I mean, come on, you were too stuck in your structure. So basically, this woke thing has to do with you became too moralists.
Do you know what I heard today, and it made sense to me?
No, okay.
Because the initial idea of woke is something from the Black culture. I've done an episode on it. You can go and find it. But what I heard today made so much sense to me. We have whitened woke.
Okay.
Doesn't that just make so much sense?
Oh, God.
The whitening of woke. Turning something that had a movement and it mattered in a grassroots way to something privileged and white.
It's
just
oh
the
God,
whitening
we take
of woke.
color out of things.
Oh my God.
This is not good. I mean, I think we need to focus on understanding what is going on, what this is, understand, and not to freak out that this is not now. I mean, this started with the breakout of a lot of countries in the early 2000s. For example, Latin America broke down the huge economic crisis, and Europe was like looking in another way.
Yeah.
When the breakdown in 2008 occurred, Latin America was in another place.
Yeah.
Today, Latin America is in a very conflicting situation, not war-wise or conflict, like warfare conflict.
Yeah.
It keeps, we keep considering it a piece of zone, a zone of peace, but there are conflicts within the countries that have to do with this global issue. Okay. So when we see these events occurring, with this turmoil inside countries, let's take Chile. Like 10 years ago, you had the student movement in Chile promoting its agenda and fighting the establishment, blah, blah, blah. Today, Chile has a president that came out of this student movement, and his government is conservative.
Wow.
So he could not even, when he was on the movement side, he promoted the new constitution, etc. He was not able to get the acceptance of the people that voted for him to vote for the new constitution. So what happened? I mean, voting is also very fragile. I mean, people don't vote because they have a conceptual alignment and they understand that this agenda is... I mean, this happened with Milei. People used to say, he's too extreme, but I prefer to vote for him because he's authentic. Okay?
Which is very, very similar to what they're saying about the Trump.
Exactly. Yeah. And people said, okay, we are not worried because we know if he goes too far, the Congress is going to stop him. But today, he owns the Congress.
Again, the same with Trump.
Exactly. So we see a lot of things that are occurring in the same way. If you see a lot of things that are occurring in the same way in different places of the world, then you have to take your loop a little bit further and take a global...
Nada, Samuel, before we go on to who is backing the global right, I want to ask your opinion about fascism.
What?
I was going to specify, don't worry.
I'm against it.
I did it, really? You hear it a lot. It's a word that's thrown around a lot. Do you see fascism in Milei's government? Do you see fascism in Trump's government? Do you see fascism coming here to Cyprus through the right-wing party? Or is it just a word that's being thrown around to scare people?
That is another thing. I mean, fascism is an ideology, okay?
True.
Being autocratic is different. I mean, it can be part, but it's not. I mean, being authoritarian doesn't mean that you're
fascist.
because
Okay.
authoritarianism is a different category of classifying regimes.
Okay.
You can be purely, full democratic, to say it in very, very simple words, or you can have a controlled democracy, okay?
Okay.
The issue of what democracy is, because democracy is also not all the things that people believe, democracy and freedom of speech and freedom of action and movement, etc. It's not like people going around and doing whatever they want.
Yeah.
Okay?
Exactly.
So Milei's government is becoming very authoritarian in all it started in the cultural way, and basically he says that he is giving a cultural battle and the revolution of culture, political culture, because he's coming outside of the political community, etc., etc., etc. But image-wise, it's terrible because you have a president that demonstrates violence through AI pictures in social media in a way that he's the lion and he's eating up people. So you have a president that is publishing these kind of images towards the population. So you have an autocratic characteristics and very authoritarian characteristics. For example, last week and now we have a syndicate in the airport section that is manifesting for their rights, because Argentina is undergoing through a privatization, a very cruel privatization of all its public structure and natural resources, etc. So the workers are, when they are organized, they demonstrate. Okay. So what happened is that the minister of security of Argentina signed a resolution that says that the policemen of the airport, the airport policemen, will do the job of these workers.
Okay.
So you have a direct intervention of policemen in doing other things than, taking care of security, etc., etc. Is that a dictatorship? No. Is that fascism? No. You have some characteristics that can be linked? Yes. But fascism is a different thing.
Okay.
And the right, just as the left, when we talk about the right, you can go extreme because you have fascism and then you have Nazism. If you ask me which of the two is more extreme, both of them are the same extreme.
Yeah.
But then you have a huge range of different kinds of right-wing governments.
Yeah. It's on a spectrum.
Exactly. And if you ask me, neoliberalism...
It's just as bad?
Where do you put it?
Yeah.
Because the reaction of people today is against neoliberal global institutions.
Yep.
Again, if we take it, what is the agenda of the new right? Against the IMF, against the World Bank, against these global institutions. It's against
World
liberal
Health Organization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So they are against liberal institutionalism.
Yeah.
Okay. They are against all these debts that they, generated in countries and that they struggled their economy. So again, I ask, wasn't this the agenda of the left? I mean, I'm not saying that the left should, go that way. It's just, it's like when you see the agenda of this new right, that it goes anti-establishment, then I am asking myself what happened.
Yeah.
Where do we put neoliberalism in the huge range
Yeah, where
of
is
ideology?
it on that? Yeah, where is it on that
ideology?
spectrum?
Well, clearly, neoliberalism...
Is it centre? Is there a centre? You're supposed to be answering these questions for me. Yeah.
I mean, neoliberalism was not in favor of the people. Was it?
In the way that the left used to be?
No. The left is the left.
Okay. But
the left can be socialist, the left can be social democrat, the left can be, but neoliberalism became the new world order in the 90s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, after the collapse of the wall in Germany.
In Berlin, yeah.
So this is when we had the New World War, the New World Order.
Okay.
And global neoliberalism came to bring prosperity and peace, etc., etc., etc.
Okay.
So basically, what is going on now is that this world order is finishing, and the new world order is about to rise up.
Okay.
So when we talk about this world war, it's because we have a collision within the system that says, okay, guys, this didn't work.
Right.
This is not working, and we need to change it. So you have a push and pull within the system for something new to rise up, which we don't know what is going to be.
Okay.
And this is where we say, where there is a crisis, we see an opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. What are we going to do? We need to understand what this part of the capitalist system, when we talk about the global right. Okay, the global right represent these people. They are backed up by the capitalist tech, the oil exploration companies. This is why they are against any climate change perspective, any environmental perspective, because they want to go and drill.
Yeah. Well,
they just want to go
he's explicitly said that. So
yes,
yeah.
of course,
yeah.
because Trump is representing the voters, but basically the voters are legitimizing. It's not just Trump; it's everyone. The same with Milei and with Meloni, the same. I mean, you need the votes to get your agenda in government.
Yeah.
But who is backing this agenda?
Okay.
This agenda is backed up by the techs, not all the techs, not all the tech companies. The companies that need to go further and be free in the cyberspace.
And when you say free, you mean?
No regulation.
No regulations, no checks, no balances.
I mean, it's not it's not a casual thing that Elon Musk was put in that, and he asked to be part of the government. It's because they go for deregulation.
Okay.
They need I mean, okay, let's understand this. You cannot govern if you don't have regulation. So basically what they are going to do is that they are going to deregulate to regulate in favor of
them themselves. Lovely.
Their interests. Okay. You always need regulation.
Okay.
Why? When you have a new business opportunity, you deregulate to go in and grab everything you can, and then you protect it and you do regulation.
Okay.
This is the way tech functions, okay? When we go to the drone industry, like 25 years ago, there was no regulation nowhere.
Yeah.
So countries started developing it. And then the regulations started coming up.
Yeah.
Who can have it? Who can develop it? Who can import from where, etc., etc. And now you have a very regulated regime internationally, so you have only 5 or 6 countries that can produce them and sell them.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So regimes and regulations serve for the capitalist system to open up opportunities for business and then close them up.
The way that they want to. Okay.
Who is backing them up and why they have this agenda? Let's talk a bit about their agenda, if you agree, right?
Of course I agree.
So they are...
what are their interests?
Okay.
What's the agenda?
Nationalism and sovereignty. So they want to go less... I mean, it's not like they don't care about the rest of the globe. It's just they want to do it bilaterally.
Okay, meaning?
Meaning, my country will negotiate with your country and the other country that we're interested in working together. No global meetings, no global regulations, okay, because they need to strengthen their national sovereignty. This is not bad.
Okay.
Because let's take it to the case of Cyprus. Cyprus is accepting all of the EU regulations because it's a country that is developing also its state culture. And because we have this issue, okay, it comes from there, so okay, it's easier, we just take it.
Adopt it.
We adopt it and that's it. But there are other countries that they have more national interest on their natural resources, on their industry structure, on their labor structure, etc. Say, okay, I'll take this from the UN, I'll take this from the EU, but I will adapt and I will take whatever is in my interest. Okay, what the right wing says is that we're not going to be told what to do.
We're not accepting anything.
We're not accepting anything. It's not our national sovereignty.
Okay.
So that is why they are opposing to organizations like the EU. This has to do with also the movement, the Brexit movement in the UK.
Yep.
That is why I said to you, all this started in the beginning of the 2000s. It's not now.
Yeah.
A critique of liberalism and elitism. It has to do with the liberal elites and the establishment politics. Most of the people that are working in these international liberal global organizations are coming from the financial establishment. Okay?
Ridiculously wealthy people.
Okay. It's not just being wealthy, it's about your concept. So basically, what is happening? You're going to say to me, well, but you have bankers that back Trump. Yes, but you have e-commerce and you have crypto commerce people that are asking Trump that they are fighting the established financial system for like 10 years.
Yeah.
So they need to deregulate the financial system because the financial system is a problem for the development of these companies and these businesses. So that is why they don't like the international financial organizations. They just want to go they just want to build up a better business system for their own interests. Okay. It's not like the other one help people. This one will not also help people.
Okay.
Then you have conservatism and traditionalism. These people are. It's not like they are old-fashioned, but there is this issue that there is a loss of tradition in national cultures.
But culture evolves all the time.
Culture evolves, but if you forget and lose your origins, you basically don't know who you are. I'm not in favor of traditionalism.
No. When you said conservatism and traditionalism, the first thing that came to me was that that's not a bad thing.
No, exactly. That's not a bad thing.
But at the same time, we must acknowledge that we do evolve and culture changes.
We do evolve. What happened with globalism is that we forgot even what we used to eat like 10, 15 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
So
it's not so much that we forgot. It's not that we forgot. It's something else.
Of course, it's something else. It's not always one thing. It has to do with many different things. When you're so busy and you have to take care of a lot of things, etc., etc., you always go for the easiest option, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you make this easiest option the daily option, you create a new culture.
Isn't it capitalism, though, that's going against conservatism and traditionalism?
But capitalism it's just like the rest of the things. It's not one solid thing.
Yeah.
Imagine.
I mean, we're simplifying things here, but yeah.
We have been talking about, there are a lot of groups within capitalism, right?
Okay.
But we are talking about one group that has become the establishment and another capitalist group
Okay.
that
You're
is
right.
fighting that establishment within the capitalist system.
Yeah.
Within the business system. I mean, this is the war that we are talking about.
I think the word that you used earlier, just everything's mingled and meddled. It's just, that's it. It's just chaos.
Wars always have been around resources. It's all about resources. Then you can add up the ideological part, the cultural part, the people's part, but it's all about resources. Who is going to get that piece of apple pie?
Yeah.
It's yours or it's going to be mine? We want to share it. We don't want to share it.
Yeah.
So now we are fighting. I mean, we, the people, know, but we are in the middle of this situation. You have this, let's say, two big group of capitalists that are fighting for that piece of apple pie, which is huge. Which is huge because everyone is saying, oh, it's so great that we have hybrid cars. Yeah. Who is making those semiconductor batteries?
Yes, exactly.
And where does nickel and lithium come from?
Yeah.
Take the world map, and it's not everywhere.
Yeah. It's very specific.
It's very specific. It's very specific. So it's like...
And it's harming a very specific...
And also it's breaking down other people's lives.
Yeah.
Because you have lithium in Bolivia, you have lithium in Argentina, you have lithium in other Latin American countries, and you have them in the United States, and you have them in... Okay, so because we want to develop this technology because we saw the business opportunity, okay, we have to go and rub out those natural resources. Okay, so it's about resources. We have to have clear that issue now. We have to be realistic in that way. It's all about resources. Then, protectionism and populism we talked about, anti-immigration sentiment.
So, one of the words that you heard that I've been hearing these last few days is, apart from inflation, immigration.
Immigration. Well, in capitalism, you have three things, right? Freedom of movement of goods and products, right? Freedom of movement of money, right? And people.
Okay.
Why does capitalism need people to move around? Because you don't have...
How else are you going to do it?
I mean, how else you're going to do it? When you're moving your plants from the United States to other countries, in that other country, you do not have all the skilled personnel you need immediately. So you need to have this possibility of moving people. The issue is that because you need people to move around, and you also need specialized personnel to move around with no problems, but then you also need people to replace those people in a cheapest way. I mean, you need cheap labor.
You need cheap labor, basically.
You need cheap labor, okay? So you need people, but then when you do something, you always have the pros and the cons. Well, what happened with immigration is that this basic value of capitalism of moving people around have created all this concept of people moving around where opportunities rise.
Yeah. So what we're seeing now is the leftover of that.
When you go and wreck down countries because you need to take natural resources from there, and then you create because it's not just the wars. It's when you wreck, I mean, Africa. Look at Africa. What happened to Africa? They took everything out. And then, Africa is poor. Well, yes. Because you took everything away.
Yeah.
I mean, you need, even if you have the most intelligent society, you need material. You need something material to work with.
Okay.
I mean, it's impossible to just work with your brain.
Okay. So Trump saying that he's going to get rid of 11 million immigrants.
As Costa said, how much it's going to cost him?
Yeah, well we
What
know...
is the cost in money? Because if... And then there's another thing.
But it's also, it's not just the cost, it's that who's going to replace that cheap labor?
Others.
Other immigrants.
We don't. I mean, that's the issue when we have to start talking about techniques of bureaucracy and policy and politics. When you say that you're gonna do something, you have to
solve
do
it.
You have to. I mean, if you don't do it, then you will have people against you because you didn't solve it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is like the long-term problem.
Yeah, but you have to care that people are pointing out that you didn't do that.
Yeah, of course.
I think when you put someone who is clearly narcissistic and egotistical, then I don't think that he's going to care whether or not he did what he said he's going to do 4 years later.
But
I don't think Milei cares.
They don't, but they don't have this. They have other instruments anyway to say, because Milei promised the Argentinians that he was gonna liberalize everything and stop the corruption and stop everything and inflation. It was.
And what are we like 2-3 years later?
And now they started saying, okay, yeah, we achieved it because in a year we have 2.5 or 2.7% of inflation less. Yes, but people cannot afford to finish the month.
No.
So basically, it's a good thing that inflation went down, but basically your society is starving.
Ugh.
You have pensioners that cannot get to the second week of the month.
Okay.
That they are choosing either to buy their pills or to eat.
Yeah.
So,
which sounds like what happened with Biden. Inflation went down.
Well,
but people will still...
Exactly. Yeah. So you asked me about Trump, but then you go to, let's say, Democratic or left-wing or socialist or social democrat, progressive governments. Mm-hmm. You are not able to... I mean, that's another problem with politics.
Yeah.
You want to bring up a lot of people to vote for you, so you start adding a lot of stuff in your agenda. I'm gonna do this and this and this and this and this and this and this, but your budget is limited. So basically, people started considering that, okay, decades pass by, you promise me the same things, and you're not able to do it. And then you go and say, well, we didn't have money, and we had the climate crisis, and then we had that, and then people don't care. You promised to them for so many years. So this is an issue that we need to write down.
I think
new agendas.
Yeah, I think the fact that also that people don't really understand that a budget exists, what that budget means.
Whose responsibility is it?
I mean,
it's the political community responsibility to be honest. I mean,
and informative. I mean, the fact that a lot of people don't know Nadasam or how these institutions work, how the economy works. I think I said that with Costa as well. People, when they looked at Trump's agenda, they didn't think, "Ooh, will he have money to do that?" No, they looked at it and thought, "Yeah, that represents what I want, and I'm going for that."
Exactly. Because I'm very critical to this market of political communication, gurus, etc., that have been helping politicians to win elections, etc., especially for the progressive agenda.
Okay.
Because you need people to help you to go through the communicational battle and gain more followers, etc., etc. But these gurus cannot establish your political agenda, cannot help you to... they are not the ones that are supposed to write down your political project, how you're gonna, what kind of policies, etc. I mean, you can get their insights, their input, etc. But it's the work of political movements, of political militants, to write down today why parties are breaking down.
Yeah.
Because we don't need people to write. I mean, I remember like 30 years ago, 20 years ago, when we participated in different party or NGOs, we used to, analyze things, write down proposals, and we decided between in groups and defining what our agenda was going to be. Today, you don't have political militants writing down the political agenda of this candidate, of this party, of this. So political thought has flew away.
Yeah. There's a link, a massive link that's missing.
People used to be organized in parties, and when you were organized in parties, you knew how the state worked. You knew you were not skeptical of it, because you are skeptical of something when it's unknown to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay. You are skeptical to institutions because you don't know them.
Yeah.
You don't know them because you don't participate. You don't participate because they told you, okay, come when we need you, when someone is going to talk and we need you to fill up a theater or, So what am I? I am a person that needs to fill in a chair in a theater.
Yeah.
I'm not here because I'm valued and because my ideas value and because... Where is the political discussion today? How come the political discussion is only in the parliaments, or it's only in a political debate structured in a mainstream television station in a particular time?
So where should it be happening then?
It should be happening amongst ourselves. We have friends and family that says to us, whatever I did in my life, I did it alone, and I didn't do it with the parties and the governments, etc. It's like, I mean, you can't do it alone. You cannot. We all live in communities. And look, the community issue is part of the right-wing agenda. They propose people to construct local communities and go back. That is why they connect cultural and traditional conservatism with this idea of going back to communities. They're going to do it in a good way? No.
What will it look like?
I think it's going to be conservative, because it's going to take us back to old values. It's going to take us back to traditional roles. It's going to take us back to not talking. It's going to take us... Yes, because it was a type of order. We are talking... Look, New World Order. Yeah. It's an order. It's a way that the world is organized. Who is organizing it? Who is telling us what to do? The system. What is the system? The system is a capitalist system. What conforms human relations? Work. If you stop going to work, with whom you are interacting?
Yeah.
When you break down trade unions, people stopped organizing.
And the problem now is that we don't have
what
people had
to
back
have.
Then. We're isolated now, more
Exactly.
and more. We're not living in villages.
Why do we have minorities? Why do we have small NGOs with these so many minorities? Why? All these minorities used to be... I'm not saying it was the good old golden times.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay. What I'm saying is that there was... I'm not going to talk about the past. We want to have an organized society where minorities can feel part of something bigger than a minority. Where these minorities feel part of something that is inclusive. And that we do not need to focus on the very particular... But the issue is...
So, all right, because we're at 1 hour, and I feel that we're getting into a more solution-based way. So how do we rebuild a progressive world? How do we oppose what we've just been talking about? We need solutions.
We need to come together. And we need to, how do we call paropides?
Take off the blindfolds, yeah, but how do we come together? In order to come together, we must be able to see the similarities that we have in our experiences, but also notice the differences that we have.
We have to accept that we are different. Certainly, if we take out the microphones, etc., and we start having lunches, let's say, every week, there are going to be issues that you and me are not going to agree about.
Yeah.
And we have that with every single person. Do you agree with?
No.
I don't agree with everything with my husband, with my mother, with my father, with everything. So how do you choose to keep people in your life when you agree that you disagree? I mean, that was the basic thing about politics. We agree to disagree.
Yeah.
And we work and focus on the things that we agree. And we start creating common solutions for that. What politics came to be is like a football match. It's like, I say black, you say black, I say white. You say white, I say black. So, but we are supposed to reach agreements.
I wish it was like a football match, Renata, because in a football match you have some boundaries.
Well, yes,
you have some rules. I often
the journalists keep out
because I love football. I really love the game of football. I often look at it and I'm like, there are all these angry men running around, hyped up on testosterone, and yet they operate in a civilized and controlled manner.
You're right. What we in this race, it's like all of us. I mean, NGOs, political parties, and when I talk, I'm not. I just want to make it clear. I'm also criticizing myself as being part of.
Yeah, I think we both are. We're coming to that realization. I mean,
I'm also doing that. I had a moment in my life where when I saw that you were a little bit like too conservative, out. I don't want to talk to you. So what we got here because we were not mature enough. I can say this as a emotionally
intelligent
and we didn't
enough.
realize what the result was going to be.
Yeah.
Because we cannot also blame ourselves and like. We cannot, as human beings, let's say the world is absolutely destroyed.
Okay.
And it's just us, human beings, walking in the last day.
Like an apocalypse.
Like an apocalypse.
Okay.
You don't have nothing. You don't have a car. You don't have a house. You lost your parents. And you find another human being. And you don't know who that human being is. You
don't know what they supported. They don't know what they voted for. What car they drove.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You're going to talk to that person.
You're going to be so happy to see them.
Well, first of all, yes. Or you're going to be so afraid. I mean, because you have this... Okay, I'm a very positive person, so I believe that people are good and nice, and then I get huge surprises. But we cannot... I mean, I think you asked me the previous time if I was going to meet someone from Elam, I'm going to talk to them. I don't agree. I did something similar with an Argentinian person that is a nationalist, and we started writing to each other from Twitter.
Okay.
And I said to him, look, I don't agree with you, but I would like to, converse.
Okay.
And he said the same. I don't agree with you, but I like a lot of things that you write. And so can we establish? We talked. We realized that we had very similar perspectives we agreed on which issues we would talk previously. So we talked about security and defense, military and geopolitics. I was so surprised that we agreed in a lot of issues. Yeah. Of course, at the end of the conversation, I told him, okay, next time let's talk about feminism.
I was going to say now, the acknowledgement of you
Yes,
as a woman
yes,
talking about these things.
Yes, of
Did
course.
you see any of that seep into your conversations?
No, actually, he congratulated me for, he said, look, it was nice, let's keep it up.
Okay.
We couldn't, but because I also think that in those situations, you cannot banalize. I mean, you cannot make it like, but I was very happy because I was like, okay, I achieved to breach, personal limitations. I would never talk to, when I was 18 years old, like I would never talk to, no, I talked to him.
Yeah.
We could analyze.
Yeah.
We talked about 2 hours. We could analyze the geopolitical situation, etc. We agreed on certain things. We agreed in very few things on those issues. And then I said, okay, so now there is a basis where we can, in a respectful way, we can talk about other things. But the conversation was done previously, said we both acknowledge that we do not agree on certain issues. Would you like to talk about issues that we agree on and see if we go profound, if we can agree? So I believe in the human value of respect for the other. Of course, if you're attacked, I'm not going to sit to talk with someone that is attacking me constantly. I might need different methodologies of doing that. But I believe that people, not voters, people need to see solutions to their problems. And the only way to achieve solutions is to acknowledge that we belong to different ideological blocks and sit down like, okay, we are going to talk about this, and this. On these issues, we agree that they are important and we can talk about it. These issues, we absolutely disagree, so we put them in another list and let's talk about that. But politics, it's like it's a race. So basically, who is going to win the race?
I feel that what you're describing is kind of the kind of talks and discussions we had in the 90s. Okay, but my question is, with the level of radicalization, because that is another part of this discussion that we haven't really touched upon, but it's very, very real. And I feel that it's happening on both sides. It's definitely more systemic on the right, and it definitely has more of an impact coming from the right than it does from the left. But when you have to do with radicalization, someone might feel right now that what we're talking about is moving more center. And a lot of people...
You don't have to move center.
I think that's where the kind of labeling, left, right, center, radical, extreme, all these things is meddling in our attempt maybe to go back to the kind of discussions that we were having in the 90s.
I don't believe in... I think that...
And social media has a lot to do with this.
Of course. There was an incident last week. There is this libertarian militant of Milei that he was in the same airplane as a new singer in Argentina that, they accuse this new singer movement as woke. So he tweeted, like, can you believe I'm in this plane with this woke guy? This woke guy found out because he was also in Twitter. And he went to, the singer went to find him, and he found him in the plane.
Yeah.
He filmed him and said, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's me here. You have something to tell me? And he was like,
Yeah.
He faced reality, because it's not like I'm not saying that what is happening in the cyberspace is not reality. It is. But when you have the person face to face, and look, let's take it to the business sector, and let's take it to the communications of the business sector that is promoted now with this change management theory.
Okay.
They are proposing a new type of managing of human resources and leadership within companies. What they say is that the worst way of communicating something to someone in your team is writing them an email or a message. So there is a pyramid, and they say that's the worst way of doing it.
Okay.
The best way of doing it is you put your cell phones apart, you take your papers away, you clear out your table, you call that person, and you agree in a space and time to have a conversation. You have the conversation one-to-one.
Okay.
This is what is now promoted within business sectors, because there is a need to change the type of management in business, because they realize that productivity has went down. They have all these people that are burned out, that they are tired, they are not motivated, etc. So we need to change the way that we are. And look, business is going that, and the politics goes the other way around. There is a German writer that is writing about this issue. His surname is Rosa.
Okay.
And he talks about like politics is like business and capitalism are like moving too fast, and politics is like two or three chapters away.
That is so right. That is so spot on. That really is. It just made so sense.
And politics say, okay, how do we win the race? Well, you're too far away, because capitalism is muting so fast because of all these things that, I mean, our life is changing, etc. I'm not going to say again if it's good or bad. I don't know. But politics, it's too far away.
It doesn't matter if it's good or bad, Nada, because we're not going back anyway.
So, of course, it's this. This is reality. We need to find the best way of living this reality.
Yeah.
I believe the best way to do it is to try to be as human as possible in a very technologized and very cruel and very radicalized situation where our human relationships are broken down.
Yeah, they are.
We cannot live alone.
Literally, families are breaking up, relationships.
But families are breaking down not because of ideology. They are breaking down because of values. How come people that grew together have absolutely different values?
Yeah.
I'm talking about values. When we talk about values, is respect, feel for the other, be empathetic, understand the other, understand the emotions of the other, be free to talk, not to be, I'm not going to say this because this is going to happen. And okay,
self-censorship.
And be authentic, accept the other as it is, and accept the differences that we have, not to, okay, let's structure everything so that everything is too silicon.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
too
exactly.
Silicon, okay? And everything is like, okay, everything is like ready to fall apart, and we are trying to not let it fall apart. And it's worse. Yeah. I believe that look, there is this new thing. Politics need to be authentic. We need to be authentic as people.
Anyway, yeah. That should be your base.
It's like not being authentic, it means that you're a liar.
Exactly.
That you're not honest. You're not transparent. So
that's so true. And often when I get people saying to me, "Oh, we love you because you're so authentic," I know what they mean, but at the same time,
it's me.
I can't do it any other way, guys. Even if I tried to, it would mean that I would be lying. It would mean that I would be expending energy and time on something that... Why? Well, okay, right. I'll let you finish up, but also, while you're finishing up, you recommended 2 books to me in our messages.
Yes, Nancy Fraser.
Yeah.
It's a Counter Hegemony Now.
Okay.
It's a book that has different interviews of Nancy Fraser analyzing the 2016 elections with Trump.
Okay.
She's analyzing why Democrats lost the elections, what they should do, etc. And basically she's saying this, that neoliberalist the neoliberalist agenda has took over the democratic and socialist agenda.
Okay.
And even the leader, you were saying with Costas that there are no new leaders in the Democratic Party. What happened with Ocasio?
What happened?
What happened? Well, they transformed her in a mainstream, elitist, Latino.
Yeah. But
person.
I've been watching her over the past few days, and you can see that there's a slight transformation happening there. I don't know if some sense was knocked into her.
She lost her authentic. She's not authentic anymore. People are not going to believe her because she was this authentic person. She won the elections at that time, and then she became Beyonce,
Yeah.
Even dress-wise, I was like, what happened to her?
Yeah.
So Nancy Fraser is saying, okay, you forgot about the workers, you forgot about this, you forgot about all these groups that the socialist and progressive movements used to represent, which is what we have been talking about. And she said, okay, and you became too much establishment, too much representative of the financial system, too much attached to it that now you cannot get out of it.
Okay. All right.
You became trapped.
I'll put that in the show notes. And there was one more. Was there one more book that you recommended?
I don't know.
Was it Global? Or is that the Nancy Fraser one?
No, that was the Nancy Fraser. I told you just to understand the whys of losing the elections by progressive movements.
I'll put that in the show notes. And if in the meantime, by the time this episode comes out, you think of any other ones,
I will
send them through and I'll put them in.
Oh, yes. It was Globalization by... I forgot his name now. But...
I'll try and find it. You keep talking. Finish up.
Okay.
I'll let you...
What we are supposed to do, we need to go back to human values. We need to start talking to each other, at least the ones that we have this urge for things to change in a good way, to prevent bad things to happen.
Bauman.
Yes.
Bauman. Globalization.
Exactly. He's classic, a classic writer, philosophy writer.
Okay.
He wrote ages ago about liquid society, which is what we are living. I mean, he died before the liquid society came up, but it's like he described it very well.
Okay.
So going back, the people that we need the urge to organize and meet, we need to put all of our efforts to do that. Mm-hmm. We need to step out of the box. We need to talk to others. I'm interested in talking to businessmen and understanding what they are going through, small, big, nano, family businesses, etc., because we need to understand what they are going through.
Yep.
And we need to understand the new methodologies of management, because these new methodologies of management are based in psychology. We need to bring in paradigms of understanding from psychology, from sociology, from anthropology, in order to understand. If we don't understand something, it's impossible to give a good diagnosis, and it's even more difficult to find a solution. Okay?
Yeah.
So we need to understand that. We need to go back to our values, to our political values, to understand, and let's understand the world. Let's understand that we are in the middle of this war, with all these conflicts, with all these situations. So how are we stepping towards this issue, the Palestine issue? Everyone is closing their mouth, afraid of saying, what is going on? We need to talk about it. We want to be authentic because it's marketing wise good for the politicians, but then we don't talk about it. We say we keep on with this political correction. Let's be incorrect for the good reasons. We always gonna have costs.
There is a good way to be politically incorrect. There is.
Exactly.
We need to find it, and we need to own in on it.
It's not about being a rebel or a revolutionary because,
it's not even about being unkind or whatever. There is a way to talk about it.
It's not even being racist to the other.
Yeah.
It's not like you favor the Palestinians and you hate the Israelis. It's not that. We need to understand that it's not black and white.
Yeah.
We need to get into gray lines for certain issues.
And also we need to stop comparing two issues as well at the same time. That needs to stop.
That is like that.
Yeah,
Well,
we need to stop.
okay.
I see so many, especially media influencers, doing this all the time. We need to stop comparing.
We need to also, today, neuroscience is talking about the possibility of being able to change our mindset.
I had Clementini Diagomanoli here. Did you hear the episode? She kept talking about neuroscience in the context of fake news and misinformation.
Look, we need to talk about it's the same thing as technology, because there is this new business IT sector that is bringing in neuroscience, of course, to achieve their own interests. They say, let's train kids to control their emotions and their mindset, because, of course, there is this idea of controlling people through that.
Yeah.
It's always the same. It's like you have something, you have a telephone, which is good because you can communicate, but on the other hand, it's bad because, you have the pros and the cons.
Yeah.
So we need to bring in the knowledge of neuroscience, and we need to start controlling our emotions and our thinking for achieving something.
Anything.
Fundamentally, to be able to talk to the other.
Yeah.
Especially us in Cyprus, especially the people that we have been participating in bicommunal, in the bicommunal movement, and we believe in peace, really. How can you make peace if you don't talk to the other?
Exactly.
You need to resolve. You need to agree, and you need to disagree.
You need to
You
meet.
need to meet. You need to see
meet.
the other. You need to talk about issues that are controversial. So,
it's
first of
funny
all,
because we often say that if, we spoke about Elam earlier, if Elam was to sit down with a group of immigrants from Africa,
well,
what would you learn?
but
It's so...
we need to go profound.
It's so like, oh my God, wow. Imagine if that happened. It's so surreal.
I'll go a bit melancholic again. We used to listen to Foucault with Chomsky in 4, 5, 6 hours of talks, and now we are like, it's 1 hour past, we cannot go further from an hour. So we need to go profound. Okay,
Yeah.
we need to work on these issues as human beings, and then the political... the people that are in political parties and NGOs need to, sit down and understand, realize that we need the political parties to function. Left, right, middle, environmental, feminist, etc., etc. We need to understand what is going on really, and we need to step out of the box. We need to step out of our box and understand and be empathetic to the other.
Yeah.
Be empathetic doesn't mean that
I'm gonna
everything.
exactly.
It's just, okay, let's understand. Let's find the solution.
Yeah.
And we need to keep up. We cannot do politics not understanding how capitalism is moving, where it does it move. And we have to think a little bit more utopian. Some people say... What, you think of the end of the capitalist system? I cannot, because it's been there for ages.
We don't know anything different.
We don't know anything different.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, let's try to make a better life within this system. Okay, let's find the ways. So human values within the political system, as a society in general, and then we need to get people with human values within the political system. The political system needs to understand, the political and the bureaucratic system needs to understand that it's not resolving issues. The way that governments are structured, it's the way that capitalism functioned like 10 or 20 years ago. We need to create governments and bureaucratic structures that are more innovative.
And up to date.
We need, I'm not going to go further because people might get scared, but we need to understand that if the role of the state is to regulate the relationship between the market and society, the state cannot be outdated.
Okay.
Society is molded by the market system. The market system is running very fast, and the state is there like a decoration nowadays.
Yeah.
That is why these right-wing candidates win elections when they talk about critically and in a destructive way about the state. What they say is that this state doesn't work, and it's true.
And it's true, I know.
And
that's
it's
the
true.
most hurtful part, realizing that it's true.
But the issue is that the alternative, the progressive movement, because we talked about the right, we have a huge range of different colors in the left, with their cultural, regional, and local characteristics. So we need to understand what is going on. And we need to go back to the roots. We need to talk to people. We cannot base our political decisions on opinion polls and, these social media counting of likes and hearts and stuff. I mean, we need to start talking to the people. And people say, if this person from that party comes here, I will say to him, okay, I come and I sit there and I listen to all of your critics and I take down notes and then I come back. We need to generate a new methodology in how we construct political accountability. Accept our mistakes. Yes, we were wrong. Yes, we did. We said we were going to do it and we didn't do it.
Yeah.
Because of this and this and this. Why didn't you say this to it? Yes, you're wrong. We didn't communicate it to you. We need to go back to being authentic in an authentic way and talk with the roots, talk with the people, understand what is going on, and think about solutions. Solutions always have an ideological color. And solutions are never perfect. This is another issue because journalism and academy has always been very critical about everything that has been done from the left, the right, and everything.
Exactly.
We need to understand that human beings are not perfect, and the solutions that we find are the solutions. Sometimes are bad solutions, but are the solutions that we are able to achieve in that moment in time.
Yes. Oh,
wow.
I could listen to you forever, and I'm so glad to hear. I'm so glad to just so you know, she's not going back to Argentina. And I've said it on the air now, so you cannot go back. She's staying here. We need more of your type of thinking. We need more discussions like what we did today, no matter how uncomfortable it was. And we've been uncomfortable for the last week, I feel. We've been uncomfortable for the last few years, I feel. So
it's not bad to be uncomfortable.
It's not.
We need to, and humanity progresses through conflict.
Yeah. I feel that I am embracing this discomfort lately, and it's sort of like pushing me to areas that I wouldn't think about looking into before. So thank you so much.
Thank you for the space and the time and the liberty to talk about issues that worry me and interest me, and I believe that we share that. And I am open for more.
Yes.
We need to profound.
We will be doing more. We promise you. Thank you for the education, the knowledge, and the time and the energy. Thank you.
Thank you.